Welcome to the Cake Therapy Podcast, a slice of joy and healing with your host, Dr. Altricia Foster. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Cake Therapy Podcast, your slice of joy and healing with me, your host, Dr. Altricia Foster. So, I'm usually excited about my guests. I invite them on for a reason. But today's guest, Miss Tasha Boone, comes from North Carolina. She is a former resident of Virginia. She's born and raised there. And I'm particularly excited because she's been popping up in my For You page. And I'm like, okay, who is she? And what is she about? And I'm really excited. So, Miss Tasha Boone, she owns Sweet and Elegant Delights out of North Carolina. She says she creates cakes, creates sweet experiences for her clients. So these cakes are sweet experiences. And what I found is that everything is content for Tasha. She's into discovery, she's into education, and we're very happy to have her here with us today. So, hello, Tasha, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yes. So, Tasha is a former nurse. She's a grandmother of 7, and she has 4 kids. Tell me,
Mhm.
like, how are you doing? How are the kids doing?
Everyone is well. We're actually empty nesters, so the youngest is almost 26. The oldest is almost 37. So we have a mixture because the two oldest are my bonus sons.
Okay.
So and then the youngest is the boy. So we have two boys, a girl, and then a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the grandkids, all of them are doing well. The youngest is 7 months, I
Okay.
believe. I lose track after a few months because they grow
Yeah,
up
that's
so
okay.
fast.
Yeah, that's okay. People say that the holiday season is typically one where people tend to get low in their spirits and their vibe and everything. So I'm intentional about, talking to whenever I'm talking to people just to check in to see how you're doing. Like what's your
Mhm.
vibe like? What's the spirit like, coming out of the
Right.
holidays?
Yeah. Like you said, sometimes the holidays can bring your mood down, but you have to find ways to, you have to find joy in even the smallest things. That's what I always tell myself, and that's what I always tell people, who come to me and, feel like they just can't keep going or just whatever the issue may be. Find that
Hmm.
that one single thing that brings you joy and dwell on that, and that'll help bring you out of that mood.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned that I see you in my For You page, Tasha.
Mhm.
Teaching. I'm gonna allow you to talk about your book soon. I'm gonna share your
Okay.
book, with our guests. But you're teaching, and I like the lessons that you leave on Instagram. But tell me about that last cake you bake. Do you still do cakes? Are you still doing
Yes.
cake?
I'm
Yeah.
still doing cakes. I took a
Mhm.
little break right here at the holiday, just from my own, mental health, well-being type thing, because I'm going all through the year. So
Mhm.
actually, the holiday time, Christmas time, is time for me to step back, reevaluate, and just take a breather before
Yeah.
it ramps up again, in January. So
Yeah. It's important.
um,
I find that it's important. It really is important to reset sometimes to find your
oh
balance
yeah.
and center yourself when you're doing cakes. So tell me about the last cake you baked. Who was it for? Not
Um,
necessarily who, what was it?
I'm trying to think. The last cake. The last cake, the last cake was a twinkle twinkle little star cake. It was two
Mhm.
tiers. Um, I hadn't done one of those in a really long time, so I was excited to do that again. And the what satisfies me is the look on my customer's face when they actually see it, because I don't send like previews and little sneak peeks, because I want
Mhm.
to see that initial look when they see
Okay.
the cake. So when
Mm-hmm.
they come pick up or when they deliver and I show them what the cake looks like, and the young lady who picked up, she was like, wow, she was just amazed.
Yeah.
And, that made me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's the joy that I see on people's faces. That's what brings me joy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But who is Tasha though? You've not always baked, but so tell me, you grew up in Virginia. Give me a little bit more about your background and yeah.
Um, I could go all over the place. I'm a uh, daughter of a pastor. I grew up in church, probably since the age of 2 or 3. And I am a wife of 27 years, 20, almost 27 years. I have to think about that too. Time gets away from me. I think we'll be celebrating 27 in a few weeks. Next month, I know. I
Yeah.
know the dates. Um, I've been nursing probably since I was a senior in high school. Started out with my CNA, got that, and then I went back to school to get my LPN, and then I became an RN. So a little over 30 years I've been in the medical field, and I still hold my
Yeah.
registered nurse license. I refuse to give that
Okay.
up, because you never know. Even though I
You
don't
just
plan
never
to go
know.
back,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't plan to go back, but just in case, I still have that
Yeah, you still have
on
that
tap.
safety net. I
Yeah.
find too that when I have a science background as well. I mean, I'm
Okay.
yeah, I'm a public health practitioner, former vaccine scientist, and I still hold my connections to it because I'm always saying like, oh God, like I need that safety net. Why do you think that we go into these things that I would call our passion jobs, but
hmm
yet we still hold on to these other connections that we previously have? Why do we feel like we need a safety net, or why is it that you think you need a safety net?
Um. Well, bottom line, I love to serve,
Yeah.
and nursing is a service. So and I had always said when I was a little girl, if I wasn't a nurse, I was going to be a beautician, and
Okay.
nursing won out. And both of those are serve. Being a beautician is a service field as well.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to hold on to that safety net of maintaining my license every couple of years, um,
Yeah.
it keeps me in the mind of serving. If I
Mm-hmm.
if I can no longer serve, with the cakes, if my wrist give out or if my back gives out, I can go back into the medical field, even if it's into a physician's office,
Yeah.
something like that. That's still serving,
Yeah.
because it'll be serving at the window or whatever the case may be. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's like a, what is it called? A love language.
Yeah. Yeah.
Acts of
So,
service. Yeah. So.
so do you think that your calling, your purpose is serving? Your purpose
hmm
in this world is definitely one of service. Well, that's good.
hmm
So I'm curious, right? I watch you. I'm curious. Um to know, like, was there anything in your background growing up that connected you to baking at all?
No,
Like,
my mother was not really a baker. Now both of my grandmothers were, but they didn't like bring us into the kitchen and consistently bake with us or anything like that. I actually got into baking as a means of supplemental income, and I
hmm,
enjoyed it. Because and I'm not sure if I'm going off topic, but baking helped me relax. If I had had a
hmm,
hard day at work or if someone had upset me or something, I could get in the kitchen and just start baking, and it's like everything just washed away. And baking is a science, so yeah. So I enjoy, I should say, putting those ingredients together.
hmm,
That chemistry. Um, So, like I said, it was a means of supplemental income initially,
hmm.
and then I realized, hey, I can do really well at this.
Yes.
I can make this into something.
So what made you start baking? You said that it was a means of supplementing your income. It could
Mhm.
have been like bartending, it could have been, juice making. Why baking? Why did you choose baking?
Because I could do it from home. And see, the type of nursing that my last 12 to 13 years, I was, I'm what's called a hemodialysis nurse.
Mhm.
And that type of nurse, I would only do patients that were in the hospital.
Right.
So if there were no patients in the hospital that, needed their treatment for that day or whatever, then I would be at home
Mhm.
doing nothing. So,
Okay.
and I didn't get paid. I would just get on call pay, which didn't amount to much. So I needed to supplement that in some way, and being able to be at home and still be on call,
Yeah.
I kind of that it worked out versus having
Mhm.
to leave home to go, do another type of job and then all of a sudden get a call and have to go in, to give care to a patient.
Mhm. So, are you self-taught then? Are you a
Yes,
self
yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
So tell
Now I
me
have
what
taken classes here and there, but not
Mhm.
like I haven't gone to pastry school or culinary arts or anything like that. No.
So tell me about your start. How did you get up
Uh,
and start like, "Hey, I'm gonna start baking today. I'm gonna start making cakes. I'm gonna start." Tell me about that start.
well, see, I'm the type of person I watch people, I listen, and so before I started doing anything, I started doing my research
Mhm.
because you always hear tales of people cooking from home and then all of a sudden they get shut down or what have you, and I didn't want that to happen to me, and so that made me go out, I checked with my city, I started Googling stuff. What could I do from home? What did I need, in order to start from home before I
Mhm.
even turned on the oven to sell to the first person.
I see.
Um, and my first customer was someone who had never ever had, she was a young lady, never ever had my cake before, but she needed a cake for her boyfriend. She was a church member, needed a cake for her boyfriend. Soon as the pastor made the announcement that I would be taking orders for cakes, she was the first one. So it
Yeah.
really started from there. Once I did my research.
Mhm. Tell me about share with our audience a little bit about that feeling of getting your first and the feeling of deciding, making that decision that I'm going to start taking orders.
Getting the first, it really shocked me, because I actually didn't expect anyone to come, to meet me in the back of the church to say, let me get this, let me get that, because I had created a little menu. It had all of the things on
Mhm.
it: brownies, cookies, pound cakes, you name it, it was on that menu.
Yeah.
So for that first person to come to me without hesitation and say, I want this type of cake, and paid me on the spot, it was like, okay,
Yeah.
I can do this. And then the next person came. I think I left service. Well, after service, I left maybe with 5 orders that day, and
Wow.
I was really shocked. But
Mhm.
it also helped coming from a small community. So people know people, related to people, that type of thing. So initially, starting business was fairly easy, in my community, because community of like 5,000 people. So somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that needs a cake. So
Yeah. And you
yeah.
absolutely had the support of the community. So I think
Hmm.
you mentioned that you had somewhat of a smooth transition into this baking industry. Well, as you're baking, right, and doing
Hmm.
your art, what's your process? What's the process that goes into your personal designing?
It's funny you asked me that, because usually, well, when it comes to cupcakes and things like that, that's a no brainer. But when it actually comes to designing a cake, sometimes I don't know what I'm doing until I'm actually working on it.
Mhm.
And people are surprised that, I don't have a design in mind, especially when a client gives me, free reign. It's like because my brain gets overloaded and it wants to do everything.
Yeah.
Um, and usually once I baked the cake and it's decoration day, once I start working on it, that's when it starts coming together because I have to
Mhm.
see it.
Okay.
I can't just, I can't see it in my mind. I have to physically see it. So that's when it starts coming together. I may do two or three pieces here or one or two colors here. And then suddenly, oh, well, let me do this or let me do that. That's how it usually comes together for me.
Yeah. So you never sketch at all.
I'm not I tell people all the time, I am not an artist. I can do your cake, but don't ask me to draw it. Now,
Mhm.
sometimes I will go into, software like Canva or something like that and try to put something together. Um, if they just have to see something. And usually I try to stick with whatever I come up with.
Yeah.
And again, that's probably a couple of days beforehand. It's not
Mhm.
months in advance because I just can't think that way.
Yeah, yeah. I find like when I'm in the kitchen and getting ready to bake, I'm I have a lot of my cake influence is really scientific. I have tall cakes, straight lines,
Yeah,
that
they're
kind of stuff,
beautiful.
right? Thank you. So I found that my science background really does influence what my cakes look like. And I
Hmm.
was curious to find out if your background in science does impact your cakes, and if yes, what is that?
Um, eclectic. um, now, like what you just said, as far as everything having to be straight and proportional, and like you said, you like the tall, sleek cakes. I tell people all the time, my cakes are sleek and tall versus wide and stumpy because
Yes.
I just don't like aesthetically. I don't like that look.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe I guess maybe science does affect it in a certain way. But again, because I do such a wide range, um, and not narrowed down to just
Hmm.
one specific niche as far as weddings or uh, celebration cakes only, that type of
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah, I always say that I try to stay away from the church hat look, right? Because the short, stumpy cakes. Like
Yeah,
we've been in and
I
out
can't
of these
stand it.
churches all of our lives, and we see those church hats, and we're like, oh no, our cakes will not look like church hats. So we
Yeah,
stay away from the. Yeah, those
yeah,
are really
and
nice.
I'm not a fondant girl either. I got away from fondant
Yeah,
years ago. I mean, I can do a fondant cake, but
yeah.
that's not my ministry, as I tell people.
Hmm.
Buttercream, I can do your buttercream cake all day, but fondant, no,
Hmm. All right,
I just
talk to
can't.
me. Talk to me. Talk to me about the aversion to fondant. Why?
Um, like I said, I've done them and they look beautiful,
Mhm.
but for me, most of my customers don't eat it anyway. So number one, it's a waste,
Mhm.
and it's a waste of their money. It hurts me because after a while, with your wrist, if you don't have a fondant machine or roller or whatever, um, it's just not for me,
Yeah.
and it takes me longer to do them than it would if I was doing a buttercream cake,
Okay. Got
you
you.
know,
Got you.
um, because if I was to try to do a fondant cake right now,
Mhm.
it probably would take me several hours because everything would have to be a certain way. If a crack came, it would just throw me off. Whereas with a buttercream cake, you can easily fix a crack.
Mhm.
Throw some ganache on it or, pop it back in the freezer or something like that. Things that are easily fixable is what works well for me.
Yeah.
Fondant is just now I'll do fondant details. If I need to, create whatever out of fondant, I can do that. But just
Mhm.
covering a cake with fondant, it doesn't make me that doesn't bring me joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't bring me joy. That doesn't bring me satisfaction. You
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, I often say that like the cakes, like when I just started out, I was just making everyone's cake, right?
Hmm.
But like the cakes I make now, like actually has to feed my soul. I'm not taking anything that I'm not going to enjoy making. My soul has to be fed because
Hmm.
this cake game is really a burnout game. And if you're
Exactly.
really not feeding
Exactly.
your soul, then like what's the whole point, And
Yeah.
cake for me is my safe place,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It's my
I've gotten
centering
to the
place.
place over the last couple of years, actually, since, excuse me, moving to North Carolina, that if I get a request, I review the request, and if it just doesn't feel right, and it has nothing to do with the customer per se, but you know, um, if it's just not the type of cake that I do, like, the cakes that have the alcohol bottles, or, the explicit cakes, that's not my aesthetic. I
Yeah.
don't do those type of things. They bring me no joy. They actually, kind of turn me off when I'm scrolling on social media and I see it. It's like, I hurry up and scroll past it because I don't want to see that. You
Mhm.
know, um, and as far as the alcohol cakes, they're pretty. Aesthetically they're pretty. But that's that's not something I want to do.
Yeah.
That's not part of my business model.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. So you definitely try to. I too have an aversion to some of those, and I guess that comes with part the purpose. A lot of people are baking with a purpose, and some things just don't
yeah,
work for them. So I do get it. I was reading somewhere where you said that your favorite cakes to work on are actual wedding cakes.
yeah.
Why is that?
Because for me, wedding cakes are once in a life, or should be once in a lifetime things. And
Mhm.
although I make a connection with my regular customers, the connection with my couples, um, is a different type of connection for me. Um, because usually once I do their wedding cake, it leads into, their, anniversary cake, or their, baby shower cake, or kid's birthday. It leads into another relationship with that same couple. I
Yeah.
recently had a couple who found me. They actually live in the Philippines. They're from the States, but they live in the Philippines. But they contacted me back in July, early June, for their wedding in July. And that connection that we have, we talk to each other just like, we've been knowing each other for years. It just feels different when it comes to weddings.
Mhm.
Um, because like I said, it doesn't have to be, but weddings are a once in a lifetime thing, and I want to make sure that I'm giving that couple their once in a lifetime cake,
Yeah.
exactly what they're looking for.
How important is the relationship building for you with you and your clients?
Very important. Um, because with word of mouth being one of the biggest marketing tools out there, if,
Mhm.
if I don't, even if I'm having a bad day, my customers will never know that I'm having a bad day, because I
Mhm.
always present to them, that they're the most important thing, or most important person at that time, when
Mhm.
we're in conversations, when we are working out what their order is,
Mhm.
what they're looking to get. um and when I hear back from them, not necessarily feedback, but when they send in another order form, it's like, oh, okay. And they keep doing it year after year after year, or, 2 or 3 times a month, a year. That lets me know, even if they never leave a review, that lets me
Mhm.
know that I have left an impression on them.
Yeah.
Whether it's the customer service, or whether it's the beautiful cake, tasty cake. Hopefully, it's all three of them.
Yeah.
But I've left an impression on them for them to keep coming back, and then they send their family, they send their friends, because
Mhm.
I have them tell me all the time. I'm sending such and such to you. And I'm like, okay, cool. I look forward to hearing from them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it seems like this is an you've mentioned before business model maybe like three times. And it also seems like this is an important part of your business model. Could you summarize what that looks like for a listener?
My business model, and I didn't realize I had said it three um, it's providing, as you gave my introduction, a sweets experience
Hmm.
that offers the best customer service possible, making them my top priority, um, providing them with, I won't say luxury because I won't say luxury, but giving them the best customer service possible. That's the top of the top thing for
No,
me.
though. Why wouldn't you say luxury?
Um, Even though cake is a luxury, I think that word gets tossed around a little bit too much.
Okay.
Because like for example, expensive sneakers. I don't say well those sneakers are a luxury. They're just
Okay.
expensive sneakers, or they're the top of the line, whatever the case may be. Um, so luxury is not a bad word. It's just
Hmm.
I just don't I just don't like to use it. It doesn't feel right
Okay.
coming from me. Somebody else
Right.
maybe. I guess because I feel like I'm more down to earth. I'm just Tasha. I'm just
Yeah.
your friendly neighborhood. Cake lady. We could
Hmm.
be friends while we're doing business. That type of thing. I just yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And that's why I asked you why not luxury because people talk all the time like having a cake, a custom cake is a luxury.
Hmm.
Ordering
Yeah, it
the
is.
ability to order a custom cake is a luxury, you know? So that's why I
Yeah.
asked you why not describe it as a luxury. Um so on in the same vein of like business models and business plans, I know that you have a bachelor's degree in technical management with a
Hmm.
concentration on small business and entrepreneurship,
Hmm.
right?
Yes. Yes.
um,
Yes.
did you do this before your nursing degree or after?
No, it was actually after. I graduated in 2016. And to be honest with you, my daughter was the one who actually inspired me to even go back to school.
Hmm.
Um, because she graduated from Johnson C. Smith in 2014. And I'm like, how's my daughter gonna have a college degree and her mama don't have a college degree? So in being that I had already started my business in 2012, and that's not taken away from my daughter at all because she thinks she's my mama.
Yeah.
She's 32 and she thinks she's the mama now. But um, just I started the business in 2012, and like I said, I finished the bachelor's degree in 2016. I just felt like I needed that added another cushion, another tick mark, that I needed to make because I could have gotten a bachelor's degree in nursing, but I didn't want a bachelor's degree in nursing. I wanted it in business so that when I started and I got comfortable enough to start talking to people, because I tell people sometimes there's a hidden teacher inside of me. So I wanted to have a leg to stand on. I didn't want to just be out
Hmm.
here fly by night, just talking, 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 talking. I wanted to be able to say, well, this is my background. This is how I can say what I'm saying, along with the experience that I have.
Hmm. So do you think it's that need to teach that led you to choose this particular course? Or what is it that made you decide that you wanted to do your bachelor's in technical management and the focus on small businesses?
Because I needed to know how to run my business. From
Okay.
2012 to 2014, when I entered the program, I was just flying by as far as pricing and my books and things like that. I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because at that time there were really no groups. There were plenty of cake groups, but there were no real groups for uh, the business side or the back of the
Yeah.
house, as I like to call it. So
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I needed, something, some type of foundation to at least get me going until I could connect with the right people in the industry to do figure out that back of the house information.
Listen, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. So, here at the Cake Therapy Foundation, we too are focusing on, entrepreneurship, just ensuring that as we teach girls to bake, we have to teach them that there's a vocational side, there's a hobby side, but how do you manage the entrepreneurial side of baking? So we try to influence and incorporate that as much as possible, so that we're not just creating bakers, we're creating business owners who can transform,
Hmm.
the future of their families. We're helping them heal generational trauma, but we're also helping them to provide for their
Right.
families, 5, 10 years down the line. How has entrepreneurship really shaped your life? How has it changed your life?
Um, I come from a long line of entrepreneurs on my father's side,
Mm-hmm.
um, from storefront owners to laundromat owners to grocery store owners, to chefs. So I know entrepreneurship. I know about working for yourself. And even though for the first, might as well say half of my life, I never really considered it for myself because I wanted to do nursing.
Mm-hmm.
But once I decided that, hey, I'm gonna go full force into this thing, um, it made me basically hit the ground running. My mind is constantly going, figuring things out, trying to decide how to best serve my customers, how to constantly step up my game. Because sometimes I look back to see things where I started from, the back of the house to the cakes that I used to do, and looking at where I am now. It lets me know that I'm on the right path as far as constantly learning. Because I tell people all the time, if you don't learn at least one thing every single day, then you're doing yourself a disservice. So I try to
Mm-hmm.
learn something, even if it's something really, really simple. Um, and maybe not necessarily learning it, but putting it in that file in the back of my head, in the back of my brain to say, okay, well, this is what you need to do next time, or this is what you need to do this time.
Mm-hmm.
So um, it has made me go hard, because I want to get to the point. I stopped nursing in 2021, March of
Okay.
2021, because I want to get to the point where not only am I my own boss, but I can take off when I need to. I can spend time with my family when I need to or when I want to. My grandkids, one of my granddaughters, she always wants to be with me. So I want to get to the place where I'm also creating passive income for myself, where I don't have to constantly be standing and working on cakes, but it be cake related or be treat related or something to
Mm-hmm.
that effect. Um, so yeah, I'm constantly ever evolving in this
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurial world because not working for somebody else since 2021 has definitely made me say, okay, it's either do or die, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely a do or
So
die. Yeah.
I tell
It's like
people,
you're on your own now.
yeah, I'm blessed and I'm thankful because we haven't missed my husband is retired. And so I tell people we haven't missed a meal, we haven't missed a bill, so I'm doing something right, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Um, it sometimes, as you reflect, you're realizing, like, the anchor does still hold, and there is still someone who is your solid rock, and he told you to go do it, and you went and you
yeah,
did it, and you're walking in that purpose right now. As you reflect, on your entrepreneurial journey, um, I would like for you to speak directly to a young entrepreneur who's
Mhm,
listening to the
mhm,
podcast,
mhm,
or a girl who's
mhm,
been impacted,
mhm.
and who's thinking, maybe I could do this. Talk to that individual right now about what it is that they need to do to sustain a small business if they go into it.
What I would tell them, hopefully I don't cry because I can get emotional when it comes to helping others. Um, Number one, have patience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, don't don't rush the process. Learn everything that you can. Once you learn everything you can, and understand that you don't have to do all of the things. Pick one or two things and focus on that. Be adaptable. If something changes, be okay with it and learn how to do it a different way. Have patience. Rome wasn't
Mm-hmm.
built overnight, you know, um, and your business is not going to be built overnight. Don't let social media influence you and make you feel like you have to be on level 10 just because it looks like somebody else is on level 10, because they might be on level 2, but social media will make you think they're on level 10. So focus on you, stay in your lane. Even if your lane has some curves and some bumps and some humps, that's your lane. Whatever you're destined to be in the place that you are. Don't think that you have to be where I am
Mm-hmm.
right now, okay? Because I'm still working on me. So, and pray. Be sure to
Absolutely.
pray.
Yeah, absolutely. And just listening to you speak to the youth, right? I now I'm beginning to understand why every time I see you, I see a lesson in your post. I notice that you are called to educate. What is influencing that?
Well, like I said, I have a hidden teacher in me, and I love to share knowledge. Um, and um, I just feel like if I know it, I need to share it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if I'm asked, I'm going to share it. And like I said in the beginning, I listen, I observe things, and then I speak on them, or I'll create a post, about it. Because not every single time are my posts related to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I know that once I put it out there, somebody, whoever needs it, is going to see it,
Yeah.
and it's going to help them, hopefully. I try to put
Mm-hmm.
a little comedic spin on some of my posts, because I feel like I'm a little comedian in the background as well. But I just feel like there's more than enough money out here, and I don't like gatekeeping anything, and I don't like people who gatekeep. So if you ask me where I got something from, I'm going to tell you, because what's
Mm-hmm.
for me is for me, and what's for you is for you. So I don't mind teaching you something. I
Right.
don't mind, if you ask me, well, what do you bake your cakes on? 300 degrees. I don't mind telling you that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how long it varies. So I can't give you that answer, but just different little things like that. I don't mind at all. My mom was the same way. My mom was actually a nurse, a LPN, and she had that giving heart and that giving spirit. And I think I got a lot of her in me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not just the way that I look, because I look just like her too, but um, I have a lot of her in me, and she was the same way. That's
Yeah. And she's proud of you.
I hope so. Hold
Yeah,
on.
she's proud of you. She's proud that you've absorbed a lot of what she's taught you and a lot of what you've seen her do. Trust me. Yeah, she's
Yeah. I
proud of
wasn't
you.
supposed to do this.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. She is proud of you, and I am proud of you. I'm
Thank
proud of
you.
what you give to the community, and you can't. I couldn't see you and walk by. You get what I'm saying? I couldn't see you and
Mm-hmm.
still
Yes,
walk
ma'am.
by. I saw you and stopped, and there was a reason why I stopped. So that's what I'm saying. Like what you're doing is purpose, and just keep doing it. She's
Yes,
definitely proud
ma'am.
of you because I am proud of you.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, absolutely. So you wrote a book.
I did. I did. I get a lot of questions either on my post or in my message box. People want advice, and this was even before I left Virginia. People were constantly asking me, well, how do you do this? Or where do I do that? How do I do that? Or what form do you use for this? Or what, invoicing system do you use? And if you watch my page, I give you all the information. Everything is there. But I decided to condense it. I created an online class, a virtual class first of the same
Mhm,
title, Business Basics. Um, and then I said, well, some people don't have time to, watch the class, or, they may not be able to watch it at a certain time. But if they have a digital version of it and they need to flip to something really quick, it'll be right there. So that's why
mhm.
I decided to create the ebook version of it,
Yeah.
called Business Basics: Starting Business Off the Right Way, curated especially for home bakers and treat makers.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I could probably speak to businesses in general, but I want to focus on us. So that's why I curated it specifically for us, who work
Mhm,
from home. People who work in a commercial kitchen. In some aspects of it would help them,
mhm.
but it's specifically for home bakers and treat makers.
Yeah. Another gift you've given. I have not purchased, but I've seen all your little the gems you drop on your Instagram page, so I know that, ladies and gentlemen who are starting their businesses and are baking from home will definitely benefit from such a book. Um, I bake because it's therapy for me.
Mhm.
My foundation was birthed out of purpose. Because I found baking a couple years ago when I was
Oh,
already when I was established, I was established scientist. I didn't need to bake, but it was a gift. It was my survival tool. It was my survival kit. And I tell people all the time that baking is a therapeutic tool. Talk to me about your experience with baking, if you've had any experience with using baking as therapy for you.
oh yeah, baking is definitely a therapy. Like I mentioned before, well, prior to me leaving the nursing field, if I had a bad day or extremely long day, just getting into the kitchen and mixing those ingredients together, just it washed it all away. I
Mhm,
remember one time specifically, and I don't know why I remember this particular time, but one of my family members and one of my siblings and we had a strong disagreement, like a strong, and we don't get upset with each other. That's just
mhm,
not us. I have two brothers. We don't get upset with each other. But this particular time, he just made me so hot, and I said, "Okay, it's okay. It's okay." Went in the kitchen, started baking, and I kid you not, by the time I was done, I couldn't remember what we had fussed about.
yeah.
It cleared my mind. I could feel like a release go throughout my entire body.
Mhm,
And whatever, and that let me know that whatever it was that we had fussed about wasn't even important.
Yeah.
to make me feel like, I needed to, put my attention somewhere else. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely therapy for me. It's my escape sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. There's a level of centering that comes from it.
Mhm.
Yeah. When you're
Yeah.
sitting still in moments of even thinking through a cake design, you're like
Mhm.
thinking.
Yeah.
Um, it's good because I talk about it all the time, and I really am trying to connect with bakers who are using it as a tool, because I did write a book myself talking
Oh,
about,
okay.
how baking has changed my life, and the tool that I've actually used. Baking has been that tool that, trust me, baking has definitely saved my life. And I talk about it all the time, and I'm and I'm a proponent of people using baking and other forms of art in conjunction with talk therapy to really go through whatever they're going through. um what is, people talk about lessons and
Mhm.
valuable lessons, and I'm curious, you've transitioned from nursing to baking. Now you're now author. Tasha Boone is author. I hope you see that in your bio, right? um what is the biggest, most valuable lesson that you've learned throughout this journey, from transition from one space to the next, that would you would like to leave with our listeners?
Continuing to learn patience.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because in nursing, you're taking care of patients, and you have to be patient with them, because sometimes they'll be upset because that's the only thing they can control. And it kind of moves over to customers sometimes, in the baking on the baking side, where you have to learn patience because for whatever reason that customer may get upset with you or get upset with me, but it's not me. They may
Yeah.
be having a bad day, so they put it off on me, but I have to be able to absorb that and learn that, you know, give them grace,
Mm-hmm.
give them some grace because I don't know what they may be dealing with while they're trying to, connect with me. So I
Right.
have to be patient, and patience is what it said, in order to get patience, you have to go through what tribulations, and upset customers sometimes can be like a tribulation.
Yeah.
So yeah. So just throughout this whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
continues to learn patience because sometimes even me, I can go from 0 to 100, just but I have to realize that I can't do that with a customer. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, I can't let that. I can't give them what they give me. I can't give them that same energy. I have to be the positive in the situation. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So you're a wife, a mom, a grandmother,
Hmm.
and we do have young individuals,
Hmm.
gender non-conforming, girls impacted by the system, going through trauma. What is a message of overcoming that you would like to tell her in this moment, as a leader in this space, as an entrepreneur in your own right, as a teacher?
um, that it's okay not to be okay, and it's not shameful to ask for help. Um, in asking for help, actually makes you the bigger person versus um, keeping it tucked away inside. But you have to find your people as well. You can't just talk to any and everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's okay not to be okay. Um, yeah. I think that's the biggest thing because sometimes people, young girls, they'll feel like, well, I have to be this, because of peer pressure or social media, or whatever the case may be. They may feel like they have to be a certain way, but deep down inside, they're struggling,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to be able to talk about it. They have to be able to um, know that they can, that if they're not okay today, let somebody know,
Mm-hmm.
because that somebody else may not be okay as well,
Mm-hmm.
So you two not being okay can kind of help each other out,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
What is finding your people? What how do you define that, and what are some examples?
It as far as me, it's taken me a while to find my people because I'm an introvert by nature.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few extroverted tendencies, but um, finding my people are the people who will come to me, or who will come to me at random times and give me that encouraging word
Mm-hmm.
without even knowing that there may be something wrong with me.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I have several people who do that. I might get a text from somebody and I'd be like, man, how did they know?
Mm-hmm.
Or I might get a DM on social media from somebody I've never even met, but we communicate on social media, and I'll be thinking, wow, they were thinking of me. I needed that at that very moment, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And it's not many now. It's not many, because like I said, I'm an introvert, so I kind of stay back.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of how people who don't always need something from me. Those are
Yeah.
my people.
Yeah. Yeah. And
people
isn't it?
people who want to give to me, give that encouraging word to me. Those are my people. You
Mm-hmm.
know, yeah, and not
And it,
expect anything in return.
absolutely. And isn't it amazing when you find that and you realize that there are people who actually support you who don't want anything at all from you.
I don't want anything.
What
Yep.
peace that is. So before
Hmm.
we go, Tasha, right, this has been an amazing conversation, and I knew it would have been, to be honest. What's your favorite thing to bake? And you know, are there any baking tips you can leave for our listeners?
I actually don't have a favorite thing to bake. What I like to do is for is to do something random, like something
Okay.
I've never done before. For a quick example, for Thanksgiving, I wasn't gonna do any type of desserts because we were hosting, and
Mm-hmm.
I decided to just throw some ingredients together and see what came out because I knew it was for family, so it wasn't that big of a deal. So those type of random baking things are what I like to do,
Mm-hmm.
versus something specific. No specific. I don't have a specific flavor that I like to bake or anything like that. But I made a apple cider caramel sheet cake.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm caramel. Yeah. And I just threw, like I said, I just threw some ingredients together. It was almost like an upside down pineapple cake. You know how you make those? This was
Mm-hmm.
a basically like an upside down apple
Okay.
cake, but it
Okay.
had apple cider in it. So anyway, yeah, so that those type of things are what I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And some baking tips. My main baking tip is low and slow. I say it quite often, low and slow, because when you rush through things, why number one, why are you rushing? You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to rush. So I bake at 300, and it may take an hour and 10 minutes to bake my cakes. But I'm okay with that because I know that they're going to be baked through. They're going to be nice and, brown or light brown or whatever. Um, versus baked on the outside and not done on the inside. So
Mm-hmm.
my main thing is baking tip is low and slow. I say
Absolutely.
it often, low and slow.
What's in the pipeline for you? And
I'm actually
please
working.
yeah, for you and the company,
I'm
no problem.
oh, I'm actually working on a second ebook. about networking and collaborating within the community.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to go to a um, convention every year. It was called the Ultimate Sugar Show.
Okay.
I went like 5 years in a row. Sydney Mitchell, she was the spearhead of that, where bakers from all over, vendors from all over, we come together. There were classes, um, and just network.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually met some lasting relationships at the particular convention.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't think it's enough in our local communities,
Okay.
or even just in general, because sometimes you can see a lot of drama and cattiness. I don't like that,
Okay.
and then sometimes I have people come to me and they want to know, well, how do they get out there? How do they? You have to put yourself out there. As I
Mm-hmm.
said it before, I'm an introvert, but if I want community, I have to put myself out there.
Yes.
I have to, put myself in a position where I can meet people, where I can learn new techniques, where I can, learn new business tips or whatever the case may be. For
Mm-hmm.
example, when you asked me, when I was asked to do your podcast, okay, because I know that would put my reach even further,
Yeah.
because I'll be connected to someone I didn't even know was, existed.
Yeah.
And you touch your community, I can touch my community, and we bring each other together. So that's kind of what my next ebook is going to be about. It's going to take me a little while to write that one as well, because I want it to be right. I want people to get good information from it. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
main thing coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been like a great conversation. I've enjoyed having you on. I've enjoyed the conversation. I know our listeners will learn, a lot from
I
hearing
hope
you.
so.
I know our listeners will hear a lot from following you at Sweet and Elegant Delights on Instagram. But what is your website? Share with our listeners where they can find you.
It's www.sweetofelegantdelights.com.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to our listeners for joining us on today's podcast. I hope that you've enjoyed this slice of joy and healing like I have. Join us next time on the podcast and buy us a coffee. Buy me a coffee. Check out our link at www.cake.therapy.org and support us. We are doing the work of the Lord for the girls who've been impacted by the system. So thank you again. Thank you so much again, Tasha, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Cake Therapy Podcast. Your support means the world to us. Let us know what you thought about today's episode in the comment section. Remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And if you found the conversation helpful, please share it with a friend. Also, follow Sugar Spoon Desserts on all social media platforms. We invite you to support Cake Therapy and the work we do with our foundation by clicking on the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description or by visiting the Cake Therapy website and making a donation. All your support will go towards the Cake Therapy Foundation and the work we are doing to help women and girls. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode.